On November 21st, 1990, in North Lauderdale, Florida, Dave O'Black returned home from a bar around 11 p.m. to tell his wife he was going fishing with a couple of friends. He picked up some beer and snacks and headed for the Everglades.
I was concerned mostly about him going in the Everglades. Whenever I think of Everglades, I think of alligators and, I don't know, just wild animals out there. There's no phones and crazy people. That's what you hear stories about the Everglades.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Rick was driving, and Shane was in the middle between us, and he was just sleeping the whole time.
I got it.
Rick and I were friends for a couple years. We kind of share the same habits. We fish a lot.
You're driving out here, but I'll put my seatbelt on. While you're at it, put his on.
Shane came down to stay with my wife and I got to know him real well through those few weeks that he was with us.
Listen, give me another beer. You got your belt on or not? We're okay.
As soon as I got to the top of the water, I took a big gasp of air, and I went back down after my buddies. On my way down, I seen the truck, just more or less the shadow of the body, because there was very little light down there. Shane had a rude awakening from this water gushing in. He was just all of a sudden woke up, and he was on the bottom of the canal.
Hey, push me.
Understanding Rick was down underneath somewhere, so we decided to go under. At that point, I felt a nudge in my back.
Let's get down, man.
When I saw Rick, I just wanted to hope that this is not what was going on, that this was just, I was still asleep. This was all a dream, but it wasn't. It was there. It was happening. And it scared me to death.
Come on, man, wake up, Rick.
I was yelling from the top of my lungs at him to wake up, and he wasn't moving.
Come on.
We had no idea if he had broken bones, busted spine, so we knew we had to move him as least as possible. As soon as my eyes adjusted, I seen blood coming from his left ear. I didn't feel a pulse at that time, and I thought I was doing it wrong.
He ain't got nothing, man.
So I moved my hand around to readjust it, and again, I didn't feel anything.
Still nothing. Come on.
And at this point, I knew he was dead.
Dave began trying to do CPR on Rick as best he could remember it.
I knew he was there. I knew there was something way down deep inside, like a little voice box. And I knew if I'd wake that little voice box up, something would click in and say, hey, look, man, your friends are out there. Let's go back out and see them.
There he goes. Come on, Rick. Come on, man.
He started choking, at which time he come around with a pulse and started breathing and grunting and showing lots of pain.
And it was approximately maybe 10 till 2. It's the night before Thanksgiving. No hunters, no campers. We were out in the middle of the Everglades, 20 miles from any major highway. So I told Shane, I'm going to run for help, and I told him if he runs into any complications with Rick, just please do what I did and just try and keep him going.
When we continue,
Heard a large splash, and I was worried about the alligator situation with his legs being in the water.
when their pickup truck crashed in an isolated area of the Everglades. 3 friends were stranded, with one of them, Rick Johnson, in desperate need of emergency medical care. Dave O'Black decided the only hope of saving Rick's life was to run to get help at the nearest town more than 15 miles away.
I took off my boots because they were weighing me down, and I just set them down in the middle of the road just in case I didn't make it back, or just in case somebody came back there and could have flagged or seen Shane and Rick laying over there.
I'll be back, man. Couple hours. I'll be back.
The water in that area contains quite a bit of snakes and alligators, crocodiles, and I was worried about the alligator situation with his legs being in the water.
I seen a glow of light coming in one direction, and I decided to go that way because that was probably Fort Lauderdale.
Your mind plays tricks on you. The time gets longer and longer. 5 minutes seems like 20 minutes. 20 minutes seems like an hour.
All right.
I felt quite a bit alone, knowing that Dave's running for help and could be back or couldn't be back.
I thought about turning around just briefly, but if I would have ran back that way, it was like running back to hell. I'd be senseless to do that, so I had to just keep going.
Heard a large splash, and I said, Rick, I don't know if you can hear me, but I hope you can. Don't move. Don't move your legs, and try to be as quiet as possible.
Finally, after a couple hours on my run, I noticed that there was a campfire to the left.
What do you want? Where'd you come from? What?
I was so relieved that I found help.
The 2 campers drove Dave back to where his boots were lying in the road. He had run more than 11 miles.
Right here. How's he doing? He's breathing. You all right? We'll get a flashlight.
That he was maintaining the same condition that he had when Dave left. And we looked for cuts and things on his head, and he was bleeding quite profusely from the ear. And he had a nice deep gash in his head that was bleeding quite a bit.
The campers drove to the nearest phone and called 911. Their call came in to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department at 5:15 a.m.
Hello? Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, we got an accident out off 27, and it's kind of hard for me to explain where it's at. Okay, you know, as you're going north, a car was coming down that road, and they missed the corner and went into the canal. This happened about 1 o'clock, and they found us just an hour ago. Has anybody hurt? Yeah, one guy, they had him laying in the canal. He looked like he was dead, but they said his back was messed up bad. Okay, telegraph, but we're almost out of gas. We ain't got enough gas to make it back out there. Okay, sir, we'll get someone right out there.
A rescue unit from Everglades Hospital was dispatched, including paramedic Gene Shunk.
This is roughly 40 miles from our ambulance station. We knew time was of the essence. It was a little cool. We had no idea how long the patient had been in the water. We just knew it was a priority patient and we needed to get there.
More than 40 minutes after the call for help, the first official, Sheriff's Deputy Derek Savage, arrived on the scene.
The subject appeared to be in very serious condition. Possibly broken bones, some internal bleeding. His color was very pale, and he was unresponsive to verbal commands.
Within minutes, the ambulance also got to the scene.
This is now going on 6 o'clock in the morning. Mechanism of injury tells us there's a good possibility that he could have spinal injuries, possible head injuries. Certainly he was suffering from hypothermia. We had to get him immobilized and get him out of there as soon as possible.
As soon as the helicopter arrived, Rick was loaded on board for the 20-minute flight to the hospital.
I just felt tremendously relieved when that chopper took off and was rushing him to the hospital.
At Glades General Hospital, Rick was treated by Dr. Jose Pineda.
Rick did not know where he was or how long a period he was in the hospital. He did not recognize many things. One of our concerns was that he did suffer head injury.
But neither a serious skull fracture, a broken collarbone, nor cardiac arrest caused him any permanent injury.
Rick was destined to live a better than normal life because he's had a second chance at life that a lot of people never get.
Three months have passed since the accident which nearly cost Rick Johnson his life.
I don't remember the accident. I don't remember it happening at all or being in the hospital. Next thing I remember, the only thing I remember is being home 2 weeks after being in the hospital.
Lois Broadwell can't forget those who helped save her brother.
I'm so happy that Rick's alive today. I'm real grateful things turned out like they did. My family is grateful to Dave, grateful for everything that's happened.
I can't say enough about Dave saving my life. There's not enough words I can say to thank him enough. He saved my life. If it wouldn't have been for him and Shane, I wouldn't have been here to talk to you.
You got that one a long way.
Rick knows and Shane knows anytime they need help, I give them help, and vice versa with everybody else. It builds more of a strong friendship between all three of us, and we really do look up at each other.
I think Rick's very lucky. I think if Rick would have had his seatbelt on, he'd have been luckier. I'm glad I had mine on. If it wasn't for he and Dave putting mine on me, I probably would have been in the same circumstance.
I would not drink and drive again. The thing that scared me the most about what I did was I could have injured or killed two of my friends, and that would have hurt me more than physical pain did.
We are that close to being, dead, and drinking and driving is completely out of my life. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Life's too short, it's too enjoyable to ruin it on something as stupid as this.